Hi guys, and welcome to October, and yay, we are in Libra transit. So happy birthday to all Libras, and let's see what's going on. So really quick intro about astrological constellations and everything that we need to kind of like work on. Guys, do not forget to check your ascendant and check your moon sign, because that's sort of like going to give you different aspects of yourself. And of course, if this jives with you, you can contact me for the private reading. So let's see what is the biggie happening in the sky. And my astrology is really different. You know, nobody's going to tell me this is the way you need to do, because to me tarot is like so much more potent than astrology. So let's kind of like move into that. This week, both Mercury and in tarot, we have the Magician representing Mercury, so you can actually see the energy instead of just me telling you about Mercury. It's going to move into Scorpio, and that fiery Mars is actually moving in Libra. So Mercury is really, as you know, during Mercury retrograde, communication issues. So yes, it kind of like symbolizes how we talk and think, and how do we really exchange things, how do we communicate, right, with each other, with ourselves, kind of like pulling things together. It kind of like really talks about what we do daily, talks about short trips, and also kind of like trade and commerce and exchanges like of that kind of like sort. Meanwhile, Mars, which actually it's not ruled by Emperor. Oops, wrong, because Aries is kind of like ruler of Mars, but Mars really, and this is going to be hell of a reveal when I tell you. For those of you who know, you already know which card I'm going to pull. This actually is Mars card, Tower. And so Mars is basically all about energy. So when it kind of like occurs in our charts, it's kind of like boosting the activity of this area. So let's put it in perspective, because Mars is now showing up during Libra transition, and this is Libra card. In the background, we just have Saturn that went direct, and so now, if you're on my newsletter, you knew that we actually shifted to new timelines. It was like few things simultaneously happening, and if you felt last month being kind of heavy and you didn't know what's going on, and you felt like you're climbing the walls and you're just like falling flat down, there was a reason for it. Please sign for my newsletter so you will be in the know. So when we kind of like have the Mars coming through, it's kind of like boosting the chart in our in that area, right? Activity of that area. So we are going to start feeling shift in our daily habits and conversations, and we will become more active in kind of like that area where sort of like that Mars joins the sun, wherever your sun is, and just kind of like, you need to remember the secret of life is really having low expectations. With Saturn kind of like that went direct, there are like no procrastination anymore. I think summer was, most of us had the excuse it was the summer, of course, for those of us in northern hemisphere, but in the southern hemisphere, winter was excuse. It's winter, I don't feel like it's sluggish. So we both kind of had the same excuse. But this kind of like all ended on September 18th at 13 degrees Capricorn. And this Saturn is the Lord of Karma, and it kind of like does feel, Capricorn is his ruler, but it's almost like the middle finger, right, when it is reversed, right? So retrograde motion is basically time when karma is sorted out, because this is the planet of karma. And so therefore Saturn retrograde is a double dose of that karma. So if you guys didn't get karma reading with me, it's very intense. It really tells you, hey, this is what you did in past life. This is what you promised to yourself. With all the wisdom, you're going to kind of like drag in this one. You want to resolve it. You know, like when we can, today I'm going to really kind of like handle this. That's kind of like, it's the entire life chart. So when and what was happening, it kind of like felt that past and present and future kind of like blurred together. And if you have been in the past and kind of like dealing with that, you know, events occurred to teach us a lesson. And Saturn is generally difficult ruler. It's kind of like, did you learn it? I really need you to know. And when I ask you this question, when I wake you up from a dream, you will get it. Not only that you're going to tell me blah, blah, blah. So the lessons that have been associated with Saturn retrograde kind of like really relate to our thoughts and our words. Some of us decided, hey, I'm going to communicate better. I'm not going to be quick to curse. And you're going to see that people will be cleaning their language. People who didn't clean the language, who continues to kind of like be mean and jump quickly to conclusions and to judgments, these people stayed on different old timelines. So what does that mean? That means you still have issues, you didn't resolve them. The bad part is going to last 12 years. So ask yourself if you really shifted or you didn't shift it, or you're just simply repeating the old patterns from the past. This in particular is going to be especially challenging if you have history of teasing or verbally abusing people. And this is becoming very prevalent. All of us kind of a little bit guilty of that. Internet is like a sneaky place where you just want to, you dislike my nail polish. You dislike something. I'm going to just tell you. We need to kind of pull back with Saturn, because Saturn is telling us, really, is this really who you are? And now turning direct is giving us a much brighter outlook, especially for making really important decisions about your home, your family, and relationships. So ta-da, everything is here. And when we are going through Libra transit, it's really talking about a major transformation. So this is where we are almost like, think about it, we have building our case, we kind of like made advances, we kind of like are understanding the areas of life which you kind of like need to do it. The Tower is saying, okay, this is collapsing, and we need to collapse certain areas of our lives and say rebuild, rebuild, rebuild. But then, Mercury is saying to us, you can do it. You have all the tools. You have been through all the lessons. You just need to pull it together, and you need to detangle anything that has been going on. Look at how powerful this month will be. So let's just jump in and see what is particularly important for your own sign. Hello Virgo, and welcome to your October reading. So let's see what is basically universe planning for you. So we just finished your birthday period. Oh my freaking god, like September must have been extremely intense. So many planets. Hello? Nope. In Virgo it once kind of like, it was like really massive. Excuse me, mister. Excuse me, mister. I'm working. I know that you wanted to say hi to Virgo. I also think like last month it was like a lot of like a visionary kind of like ideas that you had, and maybe you have kind of like been mulling it over, putting things on a plate, and now you're saying, okay, I'm taking this and I'm taking that, and kind of like let me kind of like really see what I can really do with that. Almost like that you're really thinking about creating something workable, creating something tangible, right? So in the present time, Mars is going through a Libra, and this is actually falling in your house, second house, I believe, of work, finance, and this one really won't come out, finances and daily routines, right? And this is going to stay there all the way until October 23rd, right? So, it's kind of like really assertive Mars, which is kind of like going from today, October 4th, to November 19th. So I really think you're going to have some financial really, really good news going up, and or maybe you're starting with some kind of like project, maybe you're starting with some kind of plan, and this stuff is going to rev up really, really, really fast, right? So keep that in mind, right? So also we are dealing with, like yesterday Pluto went forward and you could feel that energy, so it is like really something that got like worked on worked on your Capricorn and your fifth house of basically creativity and in passion and self-expression, right? So it is really interesting that, while Pluto was back spinning, and that went all the back to April 24th, so it was going through April 24th. I believe you guys have been developing some kind of like huge intuition, and maybe you have been kind of like feeling that you need to kind of like tone down or something like that, because maybe you have been also stuck with maybe self-sabotage or performance anxiety under that kind of like transit. But now, when this is moving forward, the very things that you just couldn't break through, you will be able to break through, right? So let's see what we have. We have the floating cat. We have the priest. And we have the crooked camera, which I really hope improves. There you go. Have the priest. So that's that energy that I was telling you that was going back to Pluto retrograde. You have the emperor. Well, now it's really getting interesting. So this is energy of 3, energy of 4, and energy of 5. So that goes back to me saying you have like ridiculous amounts of planets. It was something bad, something really, really big. So this is another major, and it's good kitty. And this is like one of my karma cards, and it's something manifesting right now in the present. 9 of sky. So this is that doubt. This is that, oh my goodness, like this will happen, and this will happen, and this will happen, and this will happen. Look at that freaking nightmare, right? So anticipation, like you may be overly guarded. Another major, you have grace. This is another energy of 5. So this was energy of 2, 3, 4, 5. The ramp up is going to be happening in a really, really big way, guys. And then we have Ace of Sea. And then we have 4 of Fire. And Fire Tom. Oh la la. So you may have had a relationship that it was going through some, let's say, interesting phases in the last 6 months. Maybe you have been dealing with trying to patch your marriage, trying to stabilize certain things. Maybe your ex resurfaced, or you had to deal with some kind of like old fears or even baggage in your current union. Because look at that. That is really talking about some kind of combination of stability and determination. And also, some of you have been really guided by God. Some of you felt, I'm going to let God kind of like do his or her magic, right? Or universe, whatever is your belief system. It was not, even though the emperor can sometimes really be controlling and wanting to push things certain way, like you still had this energy that is more gentle of the hangman, the floating cat, where you position yourself in a situation saying, okay, you know what, let's try it your way. Let's do it your way. Maybe you allow somebody to kind of like, quote unquote, run you if you really wish. Now this, to me, it's very, very interesting energy, right? Because this is really telling me also as a shift in perspectives. Maybe it was you who started to look at things from a completely different way and kind of like try to figure out how to land on your feet, right? And kind of like this was also that time when it happens with us that we need to shift. It's kind of like make it or leave it kind of a thing, right? So however, you felt restricted, as I said, right? It kind of like, it really felt that it was lots of time where action was not happening. Everything was happening internally, right? Because you really felt, oh my gosh, I have to sacrifice way too much. And, like as I said, you have been riddled with a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe you even ask yourself if this other person's values and yours align. Maybe you have been dealing with somebody from old school, especially if you're a woman, who could have been domineering and then quoting you, preaching you the chapters from the Bible or stuff like that, where you're like scratching your head. Huh? You are preaching me? Are you insane? When was the last time you checked yourself, kind of a thing, right? So it's kind of like that pragmatic nature that you guys have, even though, look at that, where do we have Earth? This is just the only freaking Earth that I have in the entire reading, and it is sort of like more or less telling me about the background of the story, what I really need to do. So, right, like, because you guys, like, I mean, you guys really will have to have overcoming of something that has been brewing for a while. Look at this, like with these 5 major cards. I don't know like which other sign, I think it was Leo that had this like major cards showing up, also with a karma card to boot, right? So I think the true kind of like drive, or rather run, is going to happen on October 7th for you guys. And this is like when, you know, you will sort of like have this you will lock horns, if you really wish, with Saturn, right? So Saturn, like, I mean, which is also like Pluto in Capricorn, and that is really falling into your 5th house. That is the house of that romance and self-expression, right? So that's basically what's going to start to get to that reality check. What do I do? Is this going to create nightmare, or are we going to move into this completely new kind of a thing, right? Because look at this, these two guys, a lovely combination together. This one is called Good Kitty or Judgment in this particular deck, and Grace or Temperance. And this is like about, hey, I have been going through this tunnel and I had no knowledge or had no ability to know if there is going to be any light. And it's kind of like talking about needing to stabilize yourself, and maybe even daily life was getting really difficult. But then, like, these two cards are saying, ta-da, right? Stop worrying as much, because you have been going through something, guys, that really put you on the edge. You kind of, even if you had somebody over here, it was really difficult for you to fully accept this person. Almost like it was not even so much about them. And even when finally they would kind of clear, you would say, I don't know if I have one. Do I really want to have fun, or do I really want to be serious? Or maybe you felt you had dealt with that kind of energy continuously, right? So that's clearly what's going to be happening October 7th, and then again when we go in the new moon in Scorpio, October 27th. And it's going to be really, really interesting, because it's going to really feel like that Mars is accelerating things and Saturn is kind of like stepping on a brake. And we see it here. Hey, Good Kitty, everything is working out. Oh my freaking god, I don't know it's going to work out. It's going to continuously kind of like feel like that seesaw motion, right? And to boot, we also have basically October 14th, full moon in Aries, and we can see it here showing up really, really nicely. And in your case, this is kind of like really talking about your 8th house and intimacy, but it's also privacy, it's also secrets. So it's going to be a question, are you in or are you out? Because you're also sending off a whole bunch of like mixed signals and mixed kind of like messages to somebody else, and it's kind of like, hey, what is going on? This also can apply to business venture, to sort of like, hey, you know, are we going to go into this business together? Maybe you're going to be putting proposals together. I do, guys, think that there are going to be some really good news for you over here. You have Ace of Cups. You're making your mark. You're feeling good. Finally after that. Finally after this. Kind of like, I don't know what's happening, right? So there is like this lovely start where there is like this whole thing going into next phase, right? However, fire tone is also really good. It's kind of like talking about intrigue, and something is becoming fun again, which is very, very important to note if, let's say, you have already started a relationship or you have dealt with marriage. It's going to feel maybe this is not final, even though it is agreed to go to the next level, even though you're kind of like feeling really, really good about it. It's the determination, there's like this optimism, and there's like this passion. At the same time, it's going to feel like, hey, my hubby is romancing me all over again. You're going to feel like almost like your heart will sing, kind of a thing. For those of you who are single, you really need to shed certain beliefs that maybe rightfully or not you have gained as a protection mechanism, right? So you maybe are going about meeting people, and you meet somebody, and then you run in your head, I didn't like his shoes, or she was dressed in a very loud color. You're almost like filtering the person, which basically goes back to your fears. That these walls that you have kind of like erected and you dealt with are sort of like still existing, and they are protecting you. But you do not need training wheels anymore, right? It is very, very important to kind of like do that. So be very careful though during this full moon in Aries that you don't kind of like blow off the top, because this can actually, like, it's almost like, hey, this is going forward, this is going backward. So again, like somebody's like stepping, as I told you, like I'm in a foot on the gas, another one on a brake. So don't take the bite at all. Kind of like that's going to be one of those things. Look, I'm too tired to even talk about it, right? So when we switch to Scorpio, which is going to be on 23rd, you are going to start to see this big picture, and it's going to really kind of like really work. You will be able to communicate very well, because look at this is going back to some stability. The Priest is my marriage card, and like you have it actually hidden over here. Maybe you are getting ready to this next level, because to me this card is next level, whatever is next. If you're dating somebody, it's going to become very serious, moving in, sort of things. If you're already there, you're going to say, okay, maybe we need to get married, or maybe, we need to get pregnant, sort of a things. So also keep in mind that, like this October 27 Scorpio, which is the opposing basically sign to yours, it can put lots of things in motion, kind of a thing. And this is clearly to me telling that, in fact, this month, whether you're not going to activate it, some of you will activate it right away, some of you will still be kind of like pull back a little bit, but nonetheless both of you will be moving forward, because this is the kindred spirit kind of a type of chemistry over here, right? And it's falling in your third house, which is kind of like really good communication and collaboration, right? And I would really say that because the third house also talks about neighborhoods, that this is somebody close to home, or some kind of community project that you're really dealing with, kind of a thing. So don't take this person for granted. Don't think like, grass is greener somewhere else and stuff like that, right? And let me not forget to mention to you, even though I don't see anything really problematic really in your chart, about Mercury retrograde, which officially starts October 31st and ends November 20th, but then we have shadow before and shadow later, where lots of mischief can happen, kind of a thing. So watch your Halloween candy, make sure it's not expired to prevent any kind of like things. But generally this is about digital data, transformation, transportation, and sort of like really how you organize your day, right? So guys, I really think this month is going to be a true biggie for you. You whole month are almost like preparing for a big ta-da moment. So obsessing is maybe good. I'm going to have a little bit of cold feet, or somebody might have cold feet. Like, this Nine of Sky is really when we feel like, oh my gosh, I'm never getting ahead of the stuff, right? But generally, Nine of Swords is something that we have inside. Maybe another person would react completely differently in the same situation. So yeah, you might have mini crisis kind of a thing. Like my friend Fernanda comes to work and she says, "Oh, I saw great hair. I had a mini crisis today." It could be something as small like that. Like, so this is anxiety. This is fear. Like something is moving forward, and you have this reputation of, hey, is it going to work? And if it does work, how will it work? And so on and so forth. So, just keep in mind that, you need to surrender to this energy, because look at that. Like these two are almost like finalization, and Grace card is really talking about the opposites. Look at this, like cat and the water. They don't really like each other, but they still manage to really find a way and path through it and make it like, gorgeous. So that is like what you'll be working on, and you will be actually succeeding. So even though from time to time you may fall back into this hole, make sure that overall you're moving forward. So my dear Virgo, you know that I love you, would love to get your comments. If you want a reading with me, check cartarot.ca, or down below you can also see the my contact information. Would love to hear from you. This also actually calls for karma, so there's like something about your karma that you're reading. If you guys didn't get one of my karma specialty readings, that's a really good one, interesting one, and healing one. It puts you in a much bigger perspective in order to understand things. And don't forget to check your ascendant and moon sign. That's going to also give you more information about this upcoming month. So until the next time, Virgo, thank you, and thank you for being here, and have a wonderful, beautiful October. I know you will, and you just need to trust me.
It's